Congratulations on a truly stellar season. Did any of you ever expect Innie and Outie to be part of the cultural lexicon? That's got to be an unusual byproduct of this show.
No. I mean, I think we all liked it, but it was, I remember reading those first scripts and thinking, this is singular, and it's either going to be huge or really niche. And somehow I think it achieved both, so that's been cool to experience.
I still prefer Worky over Innie, so,
But it does have to be so surreal. You're in this bubble, truly very appropriate for this show, and then you shoot the first season in COVID times, and then it becomes truly a cultural phenomenon. And it is, I think, a testament, Jen, to the specificity of the material that it resonates so broadly.
You can't even really, when someone says Innie or Outie, you don't think of a belly button anymore. No. You just think of the show.
You've reappropriated it. So this audience just saw the finale again. I watched it again myself, Cold Harbor, a remarkable piece of writing, of acting on all accounts. What was it like for you guys to experience it just as a viewer? I assume you've all seen this episode. Emotionally, where did it put you?
I was very upset that Adam didn't choose.
It's a big choice.
His wife, so that really upset
Same.
me. I have to say, as a viewer,
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was like, big mistake.
That's why he's
Mark.
not here. We won't be in the same room with him anymore because of it.
Dichen, obviously you have such a stellar episode in this finale. The last 20 minutes in particular, just the amount of work that went into it between you and Adam, I can only imagine. Just from an emotional perspective, seeing it from a distance, what's it like for you?
It just, it took me back to just a lot of trauma because filming that was so intense, and you really, those days, and I'm sure we've all experienced them, when you just have to give everything that you've got and you just keep going and going again and again. It just took me right back there. But also, as a viewer, it's very traumatic and also at the same time stunningly beautiful. There's just this spectacular filmmaking that you're watching. And I really feel, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but Severance doesn't feel like television. It feels like cinema, like you're watching something that you haven't seen done before, and it sort of changes your relationship to how you watch things. There's something so unique and special about it, but also the way we make it. I mean, you guys can speak to the experience of making it. It's so precise and so detailed, and it's almost like you need like a different process, because you need to be able to sustain your entire day and bring it every single moment.
It's a lot of shooting days. It's a long shoot for all of you. John, you've worked with every great filmmaker under the sun. What's unique about the set of Severance for you?
Originally, we were all there during COVID, so it was a bizarre set to begin with. It's a bizarre, very interesting premise. And, we would turn and look, and everyone was covered with masks and shields. Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, our fellow actors were while we rehearsed. And so when we would rip it off, it was really disorienting. And we're the only people who had our faces exposed. And you're surrounded by all these people who are doubly covered. And you're in this weird office, and it took a while to get used to it. But one of the first things I remember was doing the wellness scene, because my first scene was outside the wellness center with Chris, and then when we did that scene, and I remember doing that scene, and I thought she was so great in it, and I was thinking like, oh, this is what people fantasize, like someone telling you like about, you're really great, you're really kind, Jen, you're so thoughtful, you're this. And I was like, as she was doing it to me, I was thinking like, yeah, this seems really very realistic. You know what I mean? Like sometimes in your brain. And I think Dan has connected to certain things that people imagine, and also how we do split ourselves between our work life, our personal life. And you didn't know if that was going to hit the zeitgeist or not. And And it was just very Kubrickian, approach that Ben had, in that. And so it took a while to get used to everything, I think, So it was nice that I knew, like, Chris, at least.
I was going to say, what percentage of your job is acting and what percentage of your job is just telling Chris Walken what's happening in the show, explaining?
Not 50-50.
Yeah.
Chris is like, sometimes he didn't understand certain
Right.
scenes, and he would say, like, what's going on? And I'd be like, I said, don't worry, Chris, you're just into me, and I'm into you.
Yeah.
So just,
When
so
Chris-
he didn't
yeah.
always understand some of the things were really hard to understand, by the way, though you're doing all these. There's all this metaphorical language and things, but he's done a lot of plays. So I said, it's like Chekhov. So, So.
When Chris Walken is saying this is weird, that's telling you something. It's like
He's actually honest.
Yeah.
A lot of times people aren't honest.
Yeah.
They don't say, I don't
They
understand.
just go along with it, and then
Well,
you're
they
screwed.
won't dare say
Yeah,
that.
right.
Because you'll be fired.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Oh no, I get it totally.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is true. You really don't
Yeah.
understand it.
What were the biggest differences? So you have this experience season 1. Michael, Jen, when you start to get scripts for season 2, were you surprised? Had they given you a heads up of where your characters were headed in season 2?
Not a ton. I mean, some, but it's all pretty secretive. And the biggest difference, I feel like we had these two big cultural moments for our industry. Like the first season was COVID, and then we were midway through season 2 when the writer's strike and then the actor's strike happened. So both seasons had these this sort of strange events, these larger purposes around them that affected the work life. It was truly a bifurcated season. Yeah.
We're waiting for the tsunami for season 3.
What's
We're like, what
next?
cataclysmic event has not yet befallen us? But I mean, to your earlier point, though, John, I do think that going to work the first couple of weeks that way did connect us, ironically, in a way that it wouldn't have otherwise, because the first thing I shot on season 1 was a scene between Mark and Devin, and they hug. And I had been secluded living in rural Montana for lockdown, just fishing off the back of a boat and thinking about my life choices. And I showed up to work. I was so happy we were back. And we shot the scene and we hugged in the shot and they called cut and I stepped around a corner and I had like a choking sob come up in my throat because I realized I hadn't hugged anyone in so many months. I hadn't touched anyone. And so I was like, whew. And I told him, I was like, I'm so sorry, this is not about you. I just realized I hadn't touched anyone in a really long time. And he was like, oh my God, come here. But then, yeah, going through that for season 1, feeling like, we were coming out of that moment in the world, just gearing up for season 2, getting so excited to be going again. That it was like, shut down. But we're back now.
What did you make of when you realized a different kind of role for Devin this season in terms of a little bit more proactive, a little bit more in the trenches, right?
Yeah.
Were you hardened by that? Was that something that was discussed in season 1 or came to you as a surprise?
A little bit of both. Dan Erickson and I talked about wanting to make her more actionable. I think originally she kind of just existed to contextualize Mark, which is, and what a beautifully written contextualizing character. Like, it's to play a supporting character, I think in any other show that's there to simply give context for one of its heroes can otherwise be thankless, but the writing is so rich on our show that there's no half realized character. But I was excited to let her get mad. Yeah, it was nice to be sort of fun and affable and pregnant for a whole season, but this season she got to get pissed and worried, and she got to we got to see her go through a grief process a little bit.
And also establish this kind of like couples like relationship that we kind of like we were never able to see at first, obviously through flashbacks this season. Was that like what is the process of establishing this friend group, this couples group, and finding that easy relationship in a short period of time? Can you talk a little bit about how you all kind of established that quartet?
We were lucky because we've been stuck together for years now. We can't get rid of each other.
No.
Yeah, like a bad flu. And I love this man so much. And so we already had a closeness and a bond But because we exist on the outside and we were never inside of Lumen, we always felt a little bit like we were beaming in from outer space. So I had the great privilege of becoming friends with Dichen outside of work. So by the time we got to shoot that scene where we got to touch and laugh and pretend to be family, it was emotional because I love her so much in real life that it was nice to be able to play that backstory.
Likewise, Dichen is very easy to love, so we were so fond of you already that her presence is missing in those scenes where it would be Rickon and Devin and Mark. It was, there was already a noticeable difference in that way that life and work blend and bleed over. We'd done so many press events and stuff, even though we hadn't worked together. It felt like there was a presence missing. But it's such a hard thing as an actor, I feel like, to when you only pop in for little moments, to build a whole rich backstory for your character in a life, because your character isn't only popping into their life for a minute. And so that flashback scene of the four of us, it's like a minute of screen time, but you're having to sort of present this life of history, this family, all these stories and events, like without presenting it, just live in a family dynamic and having just this like little droplet of time to do it. It's a real challenge.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm obviously love these human beings, and since season 1, Michael had a baby, you got married. We've all sort of gone through like so much in our lives since we've known each other.
I was so pregnant.
Yeah, it's there's certain things that just happen in life that can sometimes really pay off.
So how does something like episode 7 come to you? I mean, does it just come as a script to you, Dichen, or do they give you a heads up of this? We're heading towards this moment, this episode that's going to be very key for you and your backstory in the season.
And when we started season 2, I had no idea, and I was getting the scripts, and I was like, oh, when is Gemma gonna pop up, or what's going on? And then I did call Dan. I was like, so what's happening? And he was like, no, we have this episode. We'll send it to you as soon as we have it. And because it was just these sort of little fragments of her early on in the season. And then I got episode 7, and then as they just mentioned, we went on strike, so there was no communication. But it was generally the same. I mean, a few things changed, like once we got back to filming, and our episode 7 was filmed at the end of the season because they were waiting for the weather and for the sun to shine down on our little family moment and certain things like that. So they had time to work on it, but essentially it didn't change that much, and I had a lot of time to sit with it. And I'm sure you guys know what it feels like when you're working in television. Usually you get the script like a few days before, and then you have to go and do it and build this character and have all these relationships. It's such a gift to have something for a long period of time, because you can meditate on it, and it sort of like becomes a part of you. My mentor, who's sadly gone now, Lynette, always used to say, sleep with your pages under your pillow. And sometimes I would do that, like just through osmosis. It's a silly little thing, but you just get to marinate in the story. And I think it's easier to be immersed when you have that time. It's actually much harder to be on a show when we've all done it, like had like that guest star, and you get the pages the night before, and you have to be good, and you have to show up. Like that takes like a lot of talent, whereas having extra time really assists, at least me, in being more prepared.
That must have been fascinating, though. Like day 1 after the strike ends, you're filled up with like 1,001 ideas, and you must have just been raring to go to be like, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?"
Yeah, I couldn't talk to anybody.
So, and in terms of the particulars of differentiating the various innies in that episode, can you talk a little bit about the challenge of that, the excitement of that?
Yeah, that was kind of, nerve-wracking because, but I thought about what John has always talked about and just like the idea of just these parts of yourself that are separated, almost like a subconscious, but also really leaned into all the other departments, like hair and makeup and costumes and set design, and giving into the circumstances, and just where would this character's tension be, where is their fear center in this space, and why. And I always think like building these characters that we all get to walk into from time to time, it's a collaboration with all of those departments, because they're helping you with the clothes and the shoes and how they stand, and where everything is sort of sitting. So I found it really amazing to just have like extraordinary crew to work with.
I would imagine for you, John, I mean, episode 4 is rewarding in a number of different ways for the character of Irving and what he goes through in conjunction with Britt's characters. But also you get out of the office, you escape the fluorescent lights. When you got that script for episode 4, that must have been an exciting challenge moment.
It was, yes. I just wanted to compliment Dichen on that episode, how, for all that time she had to marinate, it really does show. Because in her episode, it was really so precise. And so delineated. I was really, taken back when I saw that in a great way. And so hats off to you. And I like being outside. I like being outside, period. Anything not to be in that office. But it was this particular time because I had gone through something, and it was nice to be outside and to be around nature after going through something that was really upsetting in my life. And I just, it was a lot of work that I had done before I ever did anything on it, because Dan had written me a backstory, and I did a lot of research on his backstory, and I met this one particular guy who really, really helped me, who's a big shot in the Navy. And it helped me because he's actually tracking things. There's a part of him that still remembers, who he is on the, on the outside. And so it was an interesting, and also interesting to feel ostracized at that in that thing. And we all have that sometimes in school or whatever. You feel like, well, I'm on the outside looking in, and so. Some of that was like upsetting, and in a good, in a creative way. But it was really arduous. We were up there for a long time.
It looks intense.
It was like, I think it was like 5 weeks. We were up there. We were up there a long time.
That's a
just to
movie.
get up to the set was hard. And Britt and I have a very nice relationship, and I care about Britt, and so in a way that made it easier to go to other certain places and to make sure that. I would, we'd take care of each other when we had to do certain things. But it was fun to be in an active mode. I think all of us, appreciate that when we get to do something, as Jen was saying, that's active, And but yeah.
So you're saying you want to run through more hallways next year?
I like being outside. I like being in the mountains. So no, it was great for all of us, and it was also surreal in so many ways, And
I'd love to mention a couple of the other actors that aren't here. I mean, I love seeing Devin with Cobell, the great Patricia Arquette. Unbelievable. Can you talk a little bit about that? How that relationship obviously evolved this season?
I could talk about Patricia Arquette all day long. It's honestly been one of the great honors of my career to get to work with her. I've now outed myself as her biggest fan, so now I'm comfortable talking about it publicly. She knows, and I'm very lucky to report we're still friends. But she, working with her is amazing, both because of her like unparalleled acumen for weird and smart. She doesn't have no in her body. She really doesn't. Like there's not. I don't understand how her imagination works, and I don't think I want to, because like it's just like if like her the way Patricia moves through a scene is I think the way that like Bjork moves through a song, which is with great mystery, and yet the end result is like holy shit. She's incredible, but working with her as Cobell this second season was interesting because obviously the end of last season things went a little bit tits up for our characters, and. So the decision, for Devin to try and enlist her was a controversial one, for which I received some hate mail, I'll be honest. People were like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I didn't write it. But I also stand by it. Yes, on Instagram, people were like, you dumb bitch.
Oh my God.
I know. If you're here, I know you are. No. People got, I think someone had a little wine one night.
Like actual
It was my wife.
mail?
But yeah, no,
Like
it
letters?
was like letters. Yeah, handwritten letters. That was on Instagram. Anyway, I do think that was cool for us to play because then we had to become, we went from being adversaries to having to sort of develop this bizarre alliance. And again, it's a testament to how brilliant the writing is on the show that they could pull that off because it was a bit of a left turn, but they somehow made it work so beautifully. And selfishly, I was just excited to have more scenes on Patricia.
That wasn't me. I didn't write you that.
I know it's
I
you.
did react when you called her up. I kept saying, don't call her. Don't call her.
Listen, my wife has never yelled more passionately at a TV screen than the end with you and Chris. She was like, no, not the train. I was like, he's got to go. And she was like, she's really, really mad at you. I'm sorry to report.
I mean, I had no choice.
Just actors, guys. You get it. They're just doing their job.
People get crazy.
How plugged in?
That's kind of cool.
I mean, you mentioned like Instagram. This is one of those shows. This is one of those shows that like the Reddit boards, Instagram, all social media. Are any of you? Do you guys dip into that? Do you know fan theories about your characters, Michael?
Yeah.
Tell him about the ghost, Michael.
I was trying to stay away from it, but then everyone in my life kept sending me these. I think it started on TikTok that Rickon is a goat, and these like this theory that so now the amount of like goat tchotchkes that people send me, like not fans, family, friends, the goat thing. I think I don't know if it's because Rickon doesn't appear a ton this season, so people think he's suspicious because he's just you don't see him, but like there's a lot of crazy theories about Rickon out there.
I feel like they all come from John. He's playing it coy, but he's the one.
He has one burner phone, and he's up till 4 a.m. just like these.
He's laughing too much, guys.
No, I'm afraid of that stuff. I really am. Yeah, no.
It's a testament to the world that they've created, though, that it fosters this kind
completely.
of creativity.
Oh, it's amazing. The fan engagement is like truly unparalleled, at least for anything I've experienced, and that is it's cool to have people care for sure.
Care and paying such close attention to what we're doing. It's not like people are really engaged with it on a deep level, and it's intense, and beautiful.
John shouted out Dichen's work. I'd love to hear, actually, you can shout out any of your co-stars' work this season. Someone that's here on this panel, not on the panel. Who were you impressed by?
Zach Cherry, yeah. I love getting to know his Audi more, and Merritt Weaver, like that relationship. And Merritt is one of our great actors. What a coup to get her to come on the show. That whole storyline was really fascinating to me.
Sydney Cole-Alexander, who plays Natalie, is, I think, like one of our real secret weapons. She's an incredible actress, and I think what she does... There's a lot of smart actors who I think couldn't necessarily embody that like cold, caustic, corporate thing, and she does it with such precision. It scares me. I think she's amazing.
How forthcoming are the writers? How are Dan? Like, if you ask them a specific question about the war, do they keep it close to their chest or what?
Depends how much alcohol you can get into
Right, that's
Dan.
the key. Yeah. That's smart.
No, he doesn't give away too much. He's very cautious because he also knows that things can change, and as actors we can, well, at least I do, you can grab onto an idea and then it can go away, and then it's hard to to erase that from your memory.
It's kind of both. Like he doesn't divulge secrets if they don't know for sure that that's where the storyline is going, but he's very generous with backstory. Like John was saying, he wrote me this incredible in-depth backstory for Rickon, and then he wrote the first 8 chapters of the UUR, which they released, which for me as an actor, and I narrated the audiobook, it was like being handed 50 pages of your character's innermost thoughts and history. Like, it was the greatest gift I've ever received. It was, just like, here is Rickon for you. And so I think if you have any question as an actor, like, what was my character like as a child or whatever, he immediately has a rich, full answer for you.
As I said, we're obviously here with an audience of actors. What do you think would surprise them about this set in particular, given what they've seen of the actual finished product? Is there anything that would surprise them about the process of the way the directors work with you guys, the writers work with you guys?
You've never seen 4 people dissociate more intensely than we all.
I just think there's a specificity that's required, and encouraged for each particular, person, and that every little thing counts.
Nothing. Yes, the show. Nothing about the show looks haphazard. Looks lazy.
No, it's very intentional.
Looking ahead, have you asked for any major requests besides being a little bit more active outdoors, John? For any of you actors?
Back to the wellness center.
Wellness center for John. Yeah.
I did ask the writers recently. I said, I know this is big, but what if she got bangs?
Whoa.
What if she got bangs? And they said they think about it.
That's the end of our marriage, then, I think. Yeah, that's...
I would say the thing that interests me, one of the things that's like on the top of the list would be how they would be on the outside meeting each other. What would happen between them on the outside. And I think probably that's already in Dan's brain. So, but that's something I'm curious about.
Do you mean like your innie and your outie, like Adam
No,
did?
my
kind of
outie, no, I'm saying my outie meeting Zach's outie, meeting Britt's
right,
outie,
yeah,
meeting Tramel's outie, meeting, the rest of the family, what would occur, what would we, would we connect, and in this world that we're all obviously being affected by, inside or out. So, yeah.
I think Irving and Rickon would have a really fun dinner party. They would talk about
no dinner party.
No dinner party. We would talk about Donizetti and the classics.
Yeah.
Manifesting that today for the next season and beyond. It's a real testament to this show, to what you guys are able to accomplish. It's such a deep bench of amazing actors. This ensemble is unparalleled in TV right now. Congratulations. You guys know Apple TV Plus. Spread the good word and give it up for this amazing panel of actors from Severance.
Thank you.